Hello, my friends. Welcome to Lindy's Magpie Reads. I'm here to talk about books. I read a lot, and I've got 7 books to tell you about today, and also a little bit about what I've been doing in the past week. I mentioned in my last video that my sweetie and I were traveling to Edmonton for a couple of special occasions. We attended a joint birthday party for one friend who turned 50 and another friend who turned 60. It was a glorious garden party occasion. So nice to see everybody. Many of the attendees there were poets, as were the guests of honor. And so the tributes were wonderful, wonderful. And then the next day we had a time capsule opening party. So this is the story of the time capsule. 25 years ago, December 31st, 1999, we hosted a New Year's Eve event, and we invited everybody to bring something for a time capsule that we were going to open in 25 years. So 25 years would have been January of this year, and we decided, let's celebrate this in the summertime instead. So yes, not everybody could make it from the original group, but our plan had been from 1 to 3. We would, have this gathering, see what was in the time capsule, because nobody could remember. We ended up not leaving there till 5 p.m. We just talked and talked and talked. So much great stuff, fun stuff in there to remember. I brought home a few things, including my vest that was in there, this which I used to wear to pride parades and stuff, full of buttons, very historic. You can see that's the Michigan Women's Music Festival, Gay Pride from 1983. What else? Oh, here's a lesbian conference, 1979. I came out in 1978. Fun stuff. Oh, here's a Stonewall from 1994. The Stonewall celebration recognition is over 50 years anniversary now. Yeah. Anyway, that was great. And then on Monday morning, we had 3 social engagements and canceled them all because Lori and I both woke up with head colds, which I'm just getting over now, feeling much better. And it's actually the reason why I am filming this early on Friday morning instead of on Thursdays, as I usually do. So fingers crossed that I can get this edited and uploaded later today for Friday Reads. After we got back to Victoria, we went to the one-act play festival, the Wednesday night edition. It goes all week. And the reason is, back in April, when we went to the Dyke open mic, we heard a young woman read from a play that she'd written, a take on Joan of Arc. And it intrigued us so much that we had to go and see this play performed. It's called Joany. Maarleveld is the playwright. We enjoyed it very much, and there were 2 other plays that evening as well, so what a treat to see new theater work. On to the books. I have 3 for Pride Month, starting with this poetry collection, In Your Nature by Estlin McPhee. We saw them perform at Planet Earth Poetry a couple Fridays ago. fabulous collection about transness and transformations. There are, werewolves in here. There are statistics about trans people. These are poems that show us that gender transition is present all over the place. When I picked this up at the bookstore, knowing that I was going to be hearing Estlin reading, I flipped through it, and on every page, I liked what I read. So I knew I wanted to have it. I will read you a little bit. The dedication: for all my trans beloveds, I love being in the world with you. And I'll read just a little bit from Young Hearts Run Free. At work, I talk about suicide with teenagers over and over until the word loses meaning, scrambles itself with sluice in my head, a recurrence of teenagers, a sluice of suicide. And towards the end, we are all made of dust. This year, the number of those who return to dust is astronomical. Every day is a deluge since my own teenagehood. We think we know how this ends, but every time it feels different. I chose to read that poem because at the time capsule party, we talked about 3 loved ones who died by suicide shortly after after we had the initial time capsule party. Not people who were present at the event, but their obituaries were inside the guest book, where we had all written thoughts that we wanted to revisit in 25 years. Yes, so happiness mixed with sadness. The next 2 books are very fun. They're both drag queen picture books by Lil Miss Hot Mess, a renowned American storyteller who was one of the first to host a drag queen story hour. There's the hips on the drag queen go swish, 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 all to the tune of the wheels on the bus. And the illustrations are by the Spanish artist Olga de Dios. This came out in 2020. I'll just show you a little bit of the art inside. Oh, there's a Stinkerbell. We get introduced to the drag queens here in the end pages. So it's fun to pick them out in the illustrations. And then the second one, this one came out in 2022, If You're a Drag Queen and You Know It, to the tune of If You're Happy and You Know It. Once again, I'll show you some of the illustrations. And there's disability rep in here. So you see Reina Del Mar on the cover in her wheelchair, and inside there's Hagen the Spotlight, who has a prosthetic leg. Yes, love to see that. And it's a perfect segue into the next 3 books, because they are all by disabled writers. Now, in the month of May, there was a readathon on BookTube, Spoonies, for disability awareness. I have mentioned this previously on my channel. It's finished now, but I want to encourage all of you to read books about disability through the year, and queer literature through the year, books for all ages. The Spoonies readathon has been hosted every year by Emily of Novelle Novels and Kat of Brews and Reviews, two amazing women. I will link their channels below. The first book I want to tell you about is an audiobook, Look Ma, No Hands, a Chronic Pain Memoir by Gabrielle Drolet, who is a Canadian journalist, freelance writer, and cartoonist. She's bisexual. She's from Quebec. I think she lives in Montreal now. So in this memoir, she talks about how in her early 20s, she developed a condition that made her unable to use her hands. As you can imagine, when your work is typing, she learned to use voice-to-text technology and writes about that. She writes about moving to, I think, 3 different cities within a fairly short period of time and navigating different provincial healthcare systems and splitting up with her girlfriend and then going on a lot of first dates, and why she switched to mostly dating men after having spent 6 years of almost exclusively being with women, an aspect of disability that has to do with, in her case, the pain in her neck and the hands that is aggravated with sexual encounters with women. She also talks about this farm where she has gone to help out regularly, and that in that place she fell in love with 3 donkeys. And that ties into a book that I'm currently in the midst of a group read, Praiseworthy by Alexis Wright. We are, 2/3 of the way through. We should be finished by the end of this month. And donkeys are central in that novel. A physiotherapist that Gabrielle sees about her condition suggests that she tries running, and at first she's really resistant, but then she goes all in on the running and develops plantar fasciitis. And I could relate, since I am recovering from plantar fasciitis myself. This is a great memoir. There is a lot of humor in here, and Gabrielle assures us that you can live a full and even funny life in a disabled body. And this next book I picked up is by Adam Pottle, who is a deaf writer who lives in Saskatoon. This is a play, The Black Drum, and he was commissioned to write this. He was asked to write a deaf musical. So they even invented an ASL sign for signed music. And I would love to see this play mounted. It's performed entirely by deaf performers, and I'm going to link some footage in the show notes so you can get a little bit of a glimpse of what it might be like. It's a dark fantasy about a woman who is grieving her wife who has died, and the wife, Karen, is in kind of an in-between world, which is depicted entirely in black and white, and it's ruled over by this monster figure who wants to destroy everything. And her living wife, Joan, tries to get her back from this world. So a story that's I guess has been told many times through myth and legend, and literature throughout time. Like Karen, there's a line from her where she says, destruction, anger, that's not strength. Compassion, love, sharing, that is strength. Oh, sounds like a great message, and I actually really enjoyed reading this on the page as well. There's a long introduction by the author explaining things. And this next book, also by a disabled writer, Amanda Leduc, she has cerebral palsy. She's written a memoir and her debut novel, which I've also read, The Centaur's Wife. So this one, Wildlife, this is my best book of the week. I really love this so much. It's alternate history, fantasy, and it starts in 1908. We have a boy named Josiah in Scotland, and his father sends him off to be with some missionaries who are going to Russia. The many disabled characters in here include Josiah, who is nearly blind. He wears very thick glasses. And another boy who's with these missionaries, Marcus, who is mute. Later on through time, because the chapters go forward in time all the way to 2041. We meet a character, Davy, who has Down syndrome, and then a child. She's born nearly deaf, and her parents argue about whether she should get cochlear implants or instead be trained in ASL, to use hearing aids. All of those kind of issues around disability are contrasted in here with a cult that Josiah starts. So this cult is called Church of the Wild, and we see in, I think, around 1919, when Josiah's great niece witnesses a proselytizing event happening. A bunch of pilgrims have come. They keep coming to her great uncle's house in Scotland after he's returned there. And this particular scene really reminded me of the Book of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuk, and the charismatic figure of Jacob in that novel. So there are also these feral disciples. I won't tell you more about them, but I will say that throughout this novel, animals are gaining full consciousness and the ability for human speech. So I was reminded of so many novels that I've encountered in my life where animals have human speech, and all of the questions that arise from that, and about how we interact with non-human animals in contemporary times. This religion, by the way, the Church of the Wild, also has some sort of overarching theories about wellness and mind over body. And that also correlates to contemporary conceptions about disability. One of the chapters in here is in the form of a research paper that's being written with lots of comments from a scholar's advisor. The subject is Josiah, so it's written like 100 years after his death. And it reminded me so much of Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale and the Frame story about how researchers in the future are looking back on that period of time of The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, and there's a donkey reference in here too. So, yeah, lots of reasons for me to connect with other books. And I have a story for you about the word abominable. So this is the passage. What kind of person sends their letters with saffron? She had raged. What an abominable waste. Abominable. When his sister Paris was 10, he was 5 years older. That had been one of her favorite words. Abominable. Abominable. And this is my story. So I had a colleague at the Edmonton Public Library who had a parent come back to her irate because after a story hour, her daughter had learned a bad word, and she wouldn't stop saying this word that she'd learned in story time, abominable. And she kept going around saying abominable. Yeah. Okay, so I've got one last book to tell you about. It's an audiobook from Australia, Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. And there is a tie to wildlife because animal consciousness is discussed at one point in Wild Dark Shore, whales and their ability to have empathy. And there's also a teen girl who spends most of her time with a seal colony, days and nights even. So this book is set in the near future on an island that's halfway between Tasmania and Antarctica. And this is an eco-thriller. The storms have become so bad that the island is being washed away by storms. And there's a small research station on this island and a seed vault, which has to be moved. So at the opening of the book, a woman washes up on shore, still alive. She has secrets. The family who are the caretakers of the buildings there have secrets as well, so there's a mystery. The audiobook is narrated with an ensemble cast, which works really well, and because it's a sort of a thriller, that's also is, there's a compulsive nature to it. Some of the things that happen seem to, they stretched credulity, but I was just going with the flow. A pretty exciting story with a great message that we must love things with our whole selves, knowing they will die. There are a couple of characters in this novel who are having a conversation. So they know they can't stay on Shearwater, this island. And they're talking about, in the whole world, where would you like to live? And the answer from one of them is Vancouver Island, where there are the most whale sightings in the world. And here I am on Vancouver Island, talking to you. Very, very happy to be here. And that's all I've got for you today. So thank you so much for watching. Please do say hello in the comments below. I love hearing from you. So if you don't know what to say, throw in a whale emoji. I wish you well. Happy reading, everybody. And I will see you all soon in the next one. Bye for now.